Hi, I'm James Allison. I'm the Technical Director of the team, and I'll be answering your questions today about the Bahrain Grand Prix with the help of the Pure Pit Wall. Starting in 3rd and 9th on the grid, we expected a tough race against a fast pair of Ferraris in front and a challenging Red Bull immediately behind us. We expected a mixture of 2-stop and 1-stop strategies. In the end, the challenge of the Red Bulls faded very early on in the race, and the Ferrari of Vettel was reduced to their lone challenger when Raikkonen dropped out with a pit stop problem around half race distance. We pushed them hard to the flag, hounding them all the way, but were not quite quick enough to get the win on Sunday. Thanks, Rob, on Twitter for your question. The answer is that Valtteri did manage to close down on Vettel. With three laps to go, we were hard up against his bumper, but we were not quite good enough to get past him. Probably if the race had been a lap or two longer, it would have been a different outcome. But we left our charge a little bit too late and weren't able to get the race win. To Anthony on Facebook, at all the races we go to, we have several different options of strategy, and this one was no exception. For both our drivers, we had 2- and 1-stop strategies planned. With Valtteri, the default was a 2-stop, and with Lewis, the default was a 1-stop. But with the way that the race unfolded, it made more sense to switch Valtteri to a 1-stop once we saw what Sebastian had done in front of us. To Gael on Twitter, thank you for that interesting question. A very relevant one actually to the outcome of the race. We were probably a little bit too slow to recognize the threat that Sebastian was actually going to take those soft tyres all the way to the flag. Had we been slightly quicker to react to it, we probably would have kept more pressure on him in the laps sort of 35 to 45, and we might have had a better outcome as a result. We expected him to stop again, but he did very, very well in nursing those tyres all the way to the flag. To Danielle on Instagram, who knows is the answer. You never can tell unless you go and actually do it. What I can say is that the tyre wear of our car this year has been very good, and in general, better than the field. Whether specifically we could have made the soft tyres last the number of laps that Sebastian did, we would only know by trying. My guess is we would, because our car is looking after its tyres very well in the races this year. Thank you, Sarina, on Twitter for your question. Red Bulls dropped out really too early in the race to greatly influence the strategic decisions that followed. And by the time that Kimi dropped out, the die was really cast for the race that we were going to have. So we were committed to a 1-stop by then, and it would have made very little sense to convert to a 2. To Samantha on Twitter, thank you for your question. Valtteri did not hold back at any point in the race. He was pushing as hard as we felt we could in order to get the best out of the tyres. I think probably we could have guided him to push a little harder, as I said earlier, in the laps around 35 to 45, but Valtteri was still putting down a pretty good lick even then. And at the end, when he finally caught Vettel, he was giving it absolutely full beans. We just ran out of road and not quite enough laps to get the race win. To Len on Facebook, radio communications between driver and team have improved massively over recent years, and it's very often a bit like a telephone call in its clarity. But getting a good result like that is ever so fiddly, and we need to make sure we have the microphones positioned perfectly in the driver's balaclava. And we think we had them just a little bit out of position during this race, which meant we had too much background noise on his signal, making it a little bit harder for us to hear than normal. Thank you very much for all your questions. We really do appreciate them. And all the team here is looking forward very much to the Chinese Grand Prix.